The authors of a report by Statistics South Africa have called for more targeted policies to correct the country's racial disparities. The report has highlighted huge disparities in the living conditions of black and white infants. The document was tabled in Pretoria by Statistician General Parila Hohla. It deals with children under the age of 5, who represent about 10% of the population. The report warns of the continuous racial differences in the country among the very young and the consequences this holds for the future. Well, to talk about this more, we're joined in studio now by researcher from the South African Institute for Race Relations, Kerwin Lebone. Kerwin, thank you very much for joining us on Morning News today.
Thank you.
Is this surprising? Does it shock you at all that these are the findings 20 years on?
No, actually it doesn't, because in April 2011, the Institute started research on families, because there wasn't much research about families and this type of issues. So in April 2011, the Institute took it upon itself to conduct research. And in fact, that research it made a contribution. We made submissions to the Department of Social Development, and it was incorporated in a white paper that was subsequently drafted. The main findings of that research was that we have about 9 million, it made headlines at the time, we have about 9 million children who are living without their parents, who are living without living fathers. You know, they have fathers who are alive but are not living with them, and so that contributes to the cycle of poverty and inequality that's happening among families. And this absence of fatherhood is much more prevalent among African children.
How does this relate now to the legacy? How does this relate to apartheid and this being now a result of that, even though we're 20 years into our democracy?
Yes, what happened with the African family in particular is that it was affected. It never became, you know, a coherent unit, because it was affected by the migrant labor system, where people, you know, had to leave their children and women at in homelands and go and seek work in urban areas, so-called previous white areas. So that contributed to the African family not being stable from the beginning, and we can see the effects of that today.
So, Kerwin, like we say, and we were banging on about 20 years on since democracy, who's not doing their job now? Why is the situation not any better than it was then?
You know, what we found is that you know, it's a lot of complex issues, and you can never really blame anyone. What you can do is that parents have a responsibility. What our research found at the time was that a lot of fathers, not only African fathers, who are absent because of the burden of responsibility that is put on them, and that a lot of fathers who feel that, even working fathers who feel that they cannot contribute sufficiently to their children's upbringing, are therefore reluctant or even ashamed to go to their kids, visit their kids, because they feel that they are not adequate for that role of fatherhood. Those are some of the things that we identified. And also, we could not find out what is the reason. In some instances, and we don't know the extent to which this is happening, in some instances, there were mothers who did not want to have anything to do with the fathers of their kids. So it's a whole lot of issues.
So social as well. It's social as well, a lot of it.
Yes. And
we also find a lot of families that can barely afford to keep one child, having sometimes more than 2 or 3. Now, what are we doing there in terms of, you know, we have free contraception available in certain areas. Why do we also see these families growing, the poor families growing?
We delved into that as well, and what we found is that, you know, and also we don't know the extent to which this is happening, but there are some communities where having a child is sort of a sign of masculinity, and you have to sort of, you know, teach people, educate people, so that those kind of perceptions, teach them about the consequences of those type of perceptions, that if you think you are a man and you're going to have a baby, and at the end of the day you are not going to feed them or clothe them or take them to school, that you are really contributing to the problems, the socio-economic problems that are present in the country.
Now, if we look at these children that we are talking about in this study, the ones who are under 5, or the black and coloured children under 5, what is the future for them? What impact is this going to have for these kids and for the country as a whole?
Based on the submissions that we made to the Department of Social Development, I think one of the most important things was to try and promote the family as the beginning of everything in society, to sort of strengthen family units. And this can be done, this would be done according to the submissions that we made, by ensuring that people do not have kids that they cannot maintain. That's one of the things. And that we have to, people have to go to get an education because some of the issues are tied to socio-economic problems in the country, such as unemployment. A lot of kids, around 35%, stay with parents who are both not employed. And in that kind of situation, really, it is really difficult. You are already, you are already putting children in a difficult situation because you are putting them out there in the world without the resources to compete with other kids from, you know, a normal, what you'd say normal families.
So do you see this ending at all? Or is this just, it's going to be a vicious cycle, it's going to be these children, their children's children? Is it ever going to go away?
Obviously, it won't go away if this cycle, this vicious cycle continues. But based on what the Department of Social Development has said it will do, the policies and the programs that will implement to stop this kind of thing, if they do that, if the political will is there, I'm sure that we will be going somewhere and that will have much better, healthier kids in the future.
News that moves. eNCA.com.